as I had in my last video. So if you haven't watched that video, you might like to start there because this is a part 2. An accidental part 2. It's an accident because you see this is a double issue, which means it's super long. And while we were flipping through it earlier, I ran out of batteries, so we had a harsh end. But I still wanted to finish the magazine and just chat with you guys and be extra chatty. So we'll flip through it, and then at the end we'll just chit-chat for a minute. So, yeah, we got through the gift guide, and that's where we ended, so we'll start right there. This feature is called Remote Learning. The rugged islands known as the sub-Antarctics have attracted hardy travelers for decades. A point-to-point cruise, Simon Willis discovers a more elevated way to visit this wild world where penguins, seals, and other captivating creatures rule the roost. And we have this picture. We've got a big penguin and a little baby penguin. Kind of this rugged island landscape. So it says, a tour of the Snares, a group of inhospitable islands off of southern New Zealand. And here we see a fur seal nested in giant kelp on the shoreline in the Snares. It's kind of a little like Spot the Seal game. So let's read a little bit of this article. It says, observing wildlife often requires a keen eye. A rare bird or big cat is typically gone as quick as it arrives. But not so. On Macquarie Island, a rugged 49 square mile strip of rock between New Zealand and Antarctica. And then he reads through, talks about his trip. We have a little photo journal. So this is the restaurant manager on board the boat that he went to the island on. Here's his meal. It's prawns with scallop and sweet potatoes. This is the ship's lounge and library. I really like the design of this, kind of light wood and white. It feels very like a ship, but without feeling like a cartoon version of a ship. Up here we have the ship's sauna. It has this beautiful window. Here we have the Wellington boots that guests use for excursions. This is the main deck. And this is one of the bathrooms. Yeah, so they give us kind of a good overview of the vibe. Here's the group going on a little hike. Another view of the boat. And welcome to Campbell Island Nature Reserve. Should we read a little bit about Campbell Island? Okay. Campbell Island is another great success story. We anchored early one morning in Perseverance Harbor, an inlet named after Hasselborough's ship, where he later drowned in a squall. The landscape, with its dune-colored slopes sweeping up to rocky escarpments, has something of a Scottish Highlands about it. And indeed, it was the Scots who came here to raise sheep in the 19th century. They were used to a life of rugged isolation, but the island proved too much for even them. The last farmer abandoned the operation in 1931, leaving his flock to roam wild. Their grazing destroyed the habitat of endemic birds such as the snipe and the teal, which were long thought to be extinct on the island, as well as Campbell's population of southern royal albatrosses, which was severely depleted. It took more than 50 years to get rid of the sheep, but today Campbell is free of the invasive animal, and the flora and fauna are recovering. Interesting. The snipe, right? The bird, the snipe. I always sort of that as like an urban legend. You go like snipe hunting at like Boy Scout camp or something, and it was kind of a fake bird thing, but turns out real bird on this island. Wow. Okay, so this is a colony of royal penguins on Macquarie Island. That's so many penguins. Wow. So here's a little map that shows New Zealand and where they stopped. So they left New Zealand to the Snares, then Enderby Island, Campbell Island, Macquarie Island, and then Tasmania. I've never heard of a cruise doing that. That's extremely cool. Here I have this picture of the seal. And the seal's like being so majestic, right? This is a cool picture. Here's a photo of sunrise as they arrived on one of the islands. He's right, the cliffs here do kind of remind me of Ireland or Scotland. Let's see what this section is about. It says, to the ends of the earth, the polar cruises to book. So they're giving some tips. They say we're going into busy season in Antarctica, which is the spring. And there's a couple different boats that are going to be visiting Antarctica. Okay, all follow the sun. At this time of year, the allure of the Greek islands is stronger than ever, and few places deliver light more iridescent, water more inviting, or hideaways more secluded than Paxos, a tour inspired by Odysseus' adventure in the Ionian Sea. Rachel Howard finds the perfect balance between myth and modern luxury. I really like the idea of a tour based on Odysseus' adventures, although some of his adventures not so lovely, but it's a cool concept. And this photo is of a Greek sunset from the pool terrace in a rental villa. Let's read a little. An odyssey around the Greek islands was never going to be a breeze, but the lush Ionian archipelago seemed like the ideal antidote to months of cabin fever in a clustered Athens apartment. I reckon that if Odysseus could pull it off in a man-powered galley, fending off sirens, six-headed monsters, and one-eyed giants, I could handle the slings and arrows of unpredictable travel requirements and capricious ferry schedules. So I set a course for Paxos, a green speck just off the southern tip of Corfu, and intended to journey slowly south, alighting on the smallest, deepest Ionian islands until I reached Odysseus' homeland of Ithaca. I didn't have a dozen ships or 600 men, but I did have a straw hat and a weather app. That's fun. So this isn't like some of the other articles where it's like a cruise set up for them. This is about a person just going on their own journey. And this is very beautiful. This is in the village of Logos. And this is a pool in Abergazi. Here's the famous turquoise water of Paxos. This view is from a boat tour, it says. Oh, very pretty. These are ocean views from a terraced restaurant on Antipaxos. The water looks so blue here. Oh, what a beautiful place to have a dinner. This is another kind of rocky terrace close to the water. And this is just super beautiful scenery. This is the gardens at Epergis, it says. This is the Church of Ascension in the main square of Chios. And this is where yachts are moored off Fontumi Beach on Antipaxos. There are anchors on the dock in Logos and street seating in a cafe in Chios. I think these photos are really evocative of like Greek Isle life. So here's a little map, and here's Greece and Albania, and this is Athens where the author lives, and the journey that they took was here in Corfu, down to Paxos, Antipaxos, and Ithaca. So it's kind of over this way in the Ionian Sea. Let's read the final paragraph. British explorer and historian Tim Severin identified Paxos as the Homeric island where Odysseus was bewitched by Circe, the sorceress who turned his sailors into swine and took Odysseus as her lover. Odysseus luxuriated in Circe's lavish hospitality for a year until he mustered the will to continue his journey. Surely that's the best way to be seduced by Paxos. Slow down, relax, let nature take its course. That's fun. I don't know if you've read the book titled Circe. It's by an author. Her name is Madeline, and I'm blanking on her last name. But she's written a couple kind of reimaginings of Greek myth. And in this version of her book, she writes with Circe as the main character, kind of following Circe's life. Odysseus comes into it, but isn't a main part of it, really. And I loved that book. I thought that book was so beautiful. I would recommend. So here she has some tips on where to stay and where to eat and drink. But here we have soaking in the sun in Montgolfier Bay, a double-height living space at Paxos PDR, and a cypress-lined driveway in Paxos. Okay, up and Andermatt. High in the Swiss Alps, a little village with two very big ski mountains just got a $2 billion upgrade. Tim Robbins takes to the legendary steep and deep slopes of Andermatt and checks out the bells and whistles of the new look resort. So here we have skiers descending a summit. I do some downhill skiing. I like it, but I don't love it. There are people who love downhill skiing. So here we have a hotel and the hotel's pool and restaurant. And this is the view of the little town. Wow, it looks so idyllic and like vintage Switzerland, like a cartoon of Switzerland almost. Beautiful. Here we have more street scenes in the town and another ski scene, this time down the mountain with the valley below. A beautiful scene. Really beautiful snowy valley. You can tell it's a lot of snow. That's some deep snow. Beautiful. This is a beautiful photo. So here we can tell that they're cross-country skiing. And you know that because downhill skiing, you can't lift your heel up from the ski. Your heel is stuck in the ski. But in cross-country skiing, you can like lift your heel up, right? So it's like that. Where downhill skiing, you're stuck. I really enjoy cross-country skiing, and this would be a beautiful, fun little loop to do. Cross-country skiing feels a lot like being on an elliptical. It's definitely like a workout, but you feel like you're just gliding. I find it very satisfying to do in the winter. Here we have a picture of the ski guide for the trip. shows the extraordinary landscapes that define nearly every aspect of this volcanic island. The Icelandic poet Sean reflects on the unique relationship residents have with their wild and wonderful country. Okay, so we have photography and maybe some words from a local poet. This is an ice formation right there on the beach. Beautiful. And here is sunset over a fishing town on a fjord on the northern coast. Let's see. Here we have a cloud that is capturing like the sunset light. Very unique looking photo. And here is a waterfall in one of the national parks in Iceland. These cliffs are very interesting looking too. Here we have a fisherman on the western coast of Iceland and a fishing boat that is docked for maintenance. It does look like it perhaps needs a little maintenance. It's very beautiful. Icelandic horses that are near the eastern towns. This is Reykjavik's church, and it's the largest church in Iceland. What interesting architecture. It feels quite brutal, and doesn't feel like a classical church structure, but it is very beautiful too. Here we have some sheep grazing in a field near a lake. I see 1, 2, 3, 4 sheep. A literal counting of sheep to fall asleep and relax. 1 sheep, 2 sheep, 3 sheep, 4 sheep. This is a photo from inside a concert hall in Reykjavik. Again, really interesting architecture. And the lighting in this is very, very beautiful and unique. In the intro, right, it talked about the lighting. And this photographer is really capturing unique lighting. Here we have the mossy falls of Feather River Canyon in southern Iceland. This is a really unique looking canyon. It's both so green and so rugged looking. Let's see. Here we have VT, the crater lake in the north of Iceland. A crater lake. Crater lakes are usually very deep and very cold. And of course, here we have bathers at the Blue Lagoon in Reykjavik. I've said it before in videos that feature this, but the Blue Lagoon is like a popular tourist place, but don't put your hair in the lagoon. The water is like geothermal water, right? And while it's like good for your skin and your body, it's bad for your hair. Okay, let's read a little. Let's just read the closing paragraph. Even now, when we city dwellers take to the road, we return to Reykjavik carrying the landscape inside of us. We find comfort in buildings that imitate nature's own design, but even Harpa and Hallgrímskri are tiny compared to the originals. This land is a reminder in times of crisis that humankind is small, at most a fragment of the larger poem. Very pretty sentiment. So the magazine ends with a photograph taken by a reader. And here we have a silhouette of a photographer on a boat at a sunset or maybe a sunrise. some really relaxing articles at the end. So I'm glad we came back and finished it together. I'll have the link to part 1 in the description if you'd like to see, the rest of the magazine and the cover story about Mexico. I'll link that below. But since we have time, maybe I'll just chat a little bit with you guys about ASMR. So I have over 160 subscribers now. That is so many to me. I started doing this channel just because for years and years and years I have watched ASMR almost every night to fall asleep. I'm very lucky in that I sleep well at night. I have friends and family members who struggle to fall asleep or stay asleep, and it seems so challenging. I've always felt very lucky that I sleep well, but listening to ASMR to fall asleep is a part of my routine, and I'm so grateful to all the creators who have made videos that have helped me. So I just decided to maybe get in on it and make some videos myself. Magazine flip-throughs and book flip-throughs and whispered content has always been my personal favorite. Well, maybe even broader than that. The type of ASMR I like best is when I think there's something interesting being talked about. Maybe I'm learning something. I like it when whoever is talking seems really smart and passionate while still being relaxed. I like my ASMR content to be diverting my attention, right? I use ASMR to divert from my normal brain of thinking about work and things to diverting to thinking about relaxing things and sleep. So I like ASMR that really does a good job of diverting my thought process to something more relaxing and helping me settle in for the night. I hope I am able to do that for you all. I hope you find this content diverting. I chose magazine flip-throughs to start because I had a bunch of old magazines. I used to take like a couple surveys online, and as a thank you, they would send you magazines, and I keep them because I have a friend who's a school teacher. At the end of the school year, she does like a collage project with her kids, so I keep them all and give them to her usually. But she's to quit being a teacher in 2022, so I just had all these old magazines with nowhere to go. So I figured I could do flip-throughs with them pretty easily, and I like magazine flip-throughs. I might do some other content I enjoy. I like books, talking about books and things like that, but this is where we're starting. Maybe one day I'll do a video talking about some of my favorite ASMR artists, but I have quite a few that I follow really regularly and love their material. So anyway, that's just a little bit about why I do these and why I've chosen the magazine flip-throughs. I hope that you enjoyed this one and that you've had a good relaxing time. Thank you to all 160 of my subscribers. I'm just so grateful. It's so encouraging, and when people comment and subscribe and like, it reminds me that there are people out there watching and